Hey everybody, welcome back to Rebootleggers. This is a movie and TV show podcast, and it has jokes sometimes. I'm Scott Owen.
I'm Frank Serra.
I'm Rebecca Frost.
Oh, she finally used her real name. It's been a while
Sorry.
since we've heard her. I'm just saying. This is that time of year where the year is over.
It is that time.
We get to do what's become my favorite episode, where we go through our favorite reboots of the year and how great they did. I like this because
although this episode is technically coming out New Year's Day.
No, I'm actually gonna put it out. I'm gonna try my best to get it out New Year's Eve.
You're gonna slam it and jam it. All right, folks, we're gonna slam it and jam it this year.
And that's to kick us off for 2020. My resolution for Rebootleggers is we're gonna be slamming and jamming all year long.
Welcome to the slam. Or how does the song go?
Come on and
slam.
And welcome to the
Come on
to
and
the
slam.
jam.
Come on
Welcome
and
to the
slam and welcome to the jam.
If you want to slam,
If you want to be my slammer, you gotta get with my friends.
If you want to get with my slammer, you gotta get with my jammer.
He says,
Yeah.
"Come on and slam and welcome to the
The
jam."
official 2020 Rebootleggers will bring back Kool-Aid Jammers.
Did they ever go away?
What are Kool-Aid jammers?
I don't know.
They
I
were
don't know.
Kool-Aid's version of Squeeze-Its.
Oh my hell! What?
Do
you remember Squeeze-Its?
You're losing.
Yeah.
You're losing
Oh
everybody.
no! Kool-Aid Jammers was Kool-Aid Capri Sun.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like Gushers.
But there was a Kool-Aid version of Squeeze-Its, and it was worse because the bottles
Yeah.
didn't have personality.
Aw.
You remember the
Yeah,
different
it was just,
flavors
like,
had
clear
like
plastic.
There was like but they had like boxing gloves on some of them.
Yeah. Well, the Kool-Aid ones were just boring clear plastic.
Yeah, it was
so,
just the man looking at me.
Ugh, garbage.
Kool-Aid Jammers were Capri Suns that were Kool-Aid instead.
Does Kool-Aid Man,
Garbage.
I'm not saying I want this to exist, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm surprised that the Kool-Aid Man has not gotten his own movie, like a theatrical release movie.
Now, Kool-Aid Jammers not only still exist, but are sold like everywhere.
And-
so we're not bringing them back. We're just gonna make them cool again.
We're gonna slam them. My other question is: do we know the Kool-Aid Man's given Christian name?
We do not.
Kool-Aid K. Okay, hold on.
Like the Kool-Aid Man's got to be a
Kool-Aid
title,
Man
right?
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Kool-Aid Man.
Kool-Aid Man true name.
True name, like Name of the Wind naming.
Before he had arms and legs, the Kool-Aid Man was a perspiring pitcher known as the Pitcher
The
Man.
That's
Pitcher
true.
Man.
He didn't have arms and legs originally. He was just a face on a pitcher, and he could talk.
In 1975, he grew arms and legs and became the Kool-Aid Man.
He grew them. Did we now?
Now,
sure what
in
they
Canada, he was called Captain Kool-Aid.
Oh, that's better. Put him in the military. Now, I'm sure that what they mean by he grew legs was just they added him legs. But
100%.
do you? I'm imagining
They added him legs?
yeah,
They added he legs.
I'm imagining an actual commercial they did where he like grows arms and legs.
Holy shit.
I'm
There
gonna
was a
Google, how
1983
do you-
Kool-Aid Man video game for the Atari 2600. There goes the rest of my year.
I'm Googling, how do you destroy the Kool-Aid Man?
I think
Oh,
you
yeah.
just gotta trick him into pouring himself out.
I think there was a commercial where he
Red
got broken
Kool-Aid
a
is
little bit.
not his blood. It's his nanomite-filled nectar designed to inculcate the courtship ritual of sharing drinks into young humans.
Ew. What's a
Are,
nanomite?
are you on some like Time Cube website?
Kind of sounds
I'm
like
on
Rebecca.
Google.
It kind of sounds like Rebecca as being spoken through as a vessel right now by the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, and it's intermingled with a bunch of articles about the Jonestown Massacre.
Yeah.
Fun fact, they didn't use Kool-Aid, they used
Yeah.
Flavor Aid. He was too cheap to get Kool-Aid.
What a dick. Flavor Aid. So this year, this is our annual year in reboot view episode where we're gonna go through all of the best reboots of this year and talk about.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, Scott. We're not done yet. The Wikipedia article describes the average Kool-Aid commercials like story beats, and it does it in this detached serial killer way that I have to read out loud for you. Children, parched from playing, would exchange a few words referring to their thirst, and then shout, "Hey, Kool-Aid Man." Whereupon the Kool-Aid Man would make an entrance, breaking through walls, fences, or other furnishings, uttering his famous phrase, "Oh yeah." He would then pour the dehydrated youngsters glasses of Kool-Aid from his own pitcher. End quote.
Drink my blood.
Do you think anyone ever said "Oh yeah" as like a exclamation of good times before the Kool-Aid Man?
Probably not. And the origin of the "Oh yeah" catchphrase was 1974.
Yeah, like people didn't. People were calling each other shapes as insults at some point back then, so they weren't very creative.
You square-kneed bee chomper.
No, they just called. I was just saying squares. They said they
call people squares because it means you're not around.
What is that really? It?
I don't think that's it.
That is the
be there or be square.
Because they're not around. That is such a weird logical. Like they're making everyone do so much work to get their joke.
Is it? If I were to say so and so is thirsty, what's your explanation of that without being so roundabout about it?
In the sex way?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know where that came from. I'm just talking
about like slang.
That's fair. It just feels like a weird worse attempt at like British Cockney rhyming slang where it's like 3 jumps to get us somewhere.
The origin of square as a derogatory reference dates back to the jazz scene of the 1940s.
Oh boy.
To refer to someone who does not get jazz or has out-of-taste touches. Commonly accepted that square refers to the rigid 4-beat rhythm of a conductor's hands.
Oh, so it's boring. You're boring.
Yeah.
I like that even better. But also, you did say out of taste touches?
Yeah, because I changed words.
And I want us to start talking about our touches in 2020 instead of our tastes.
Yeah.
Can we do our show?
Yeah, I was trying.
Yeah, I'm done talking about Kool-Aid.
Yeah, so
are you?
I guess I am now.
I'm going to start us off with a movie that I just saw 2 days ago.
Did you already say this is our year in reboot view?
I did, and then you made me go back to Kool-Aid.
Yeah, do it. This is our year in reboot view now, starting now.
Yeah, so I'm going to start us off with this is not the first reboot that came out this year, but it's the one that I saw most recently. I saw it 2 days ago, and I'm talking about Little Women. Now, this was I think I say it every year. I always respect a reboot that is willing to take chances and to be very different from the thing it's rebooting. And in this case, it's incredibly different from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in that they don't actually become physically small, like more small than they already are. Like they're already small. They're small women.
Guys, I'm just now getting the joke.
And so it's a story about, siblings. So instead of 2 different families of siblings, it's just 4 girls in the same family instead of like 3 boys and a girl, which is fine, shake it up. The future's female. I love it. And the thing that, and Frank, I'm curious how you feel about this, but they got rid of the aunt, and instead of the giant ant dying, their youngest sister dies. And in both movies, they're obviously supposed to be the same character because it's like she was the best of us. The aunt was, the most helpful and loyal character of all. But I just feel like I don't know. I just don't know how.
The aunt is Meryl Streep because she's the actual aunt.
Well, yeah. There's 2 aunts, which also makes it confusing. Yeah, there's an aunt with a U,
aunt,
and then
let's just say aunt and aunt.
Yeah, and then there's.
But she is aunt, and so they don't actually fix anything that's confusing.
Yeah, and so I still loved the movie. It made me cry more than the original did, which
a lot more personal, a lot more hard hitting.
Surprise cameo by Bob not even a cameo, by Bob Odenkirk, and he says "My Little Women," and I'm like, that's the name of the
reprising
movie.
His role as the cow from Back to the Barnyard.
No,
oh my god,
this is.
He's here to solve their legal troubles.
It was clearly like a wink and a nod, but like they didn't.
For sure.
It was pretty tasteful.
And this is a case where the behind the scenes Hollywood story kind of informs some things, because the reason that they couldn't physically shrink the women is because of budgeting issues.
Right. It's very hard to shrink women on.
So they had to take it sideways at the last minute, and they really pulled it out.
Part of it is because Avengers Endgame used most of Hollywood's shrinking budget earlier this year, and so they were
there's like a communal shrinking budget.
Yeah,
there's only so many Pym particles
because they all have to use the same set. Because it's there's.
What about that Matt Damon movie where he shrinks? Was that this year?
That was a couple of years ago, but the budget, I think that's partially why that, like, I think he kind of used up, they had a bit of a backlog, like they had some stored up and he used a lot of it for that movie. And so it's all kind of been piecemeal since then. So we kind of had to choose, do we want to shrink these women or do we want to just let the Avengers have it? And, Hollywood makes decisions based on money. And so I don't want to get into the politics, but ultimately, I thought this was a great reboot. I thought it was heartwarming and delightful. I appreciate that they did an entire genre swap. There was no sci-fi in it at all. I loved it.
And there was no like, oops, we have to make you big again. None of those plot lines
none of
came
those.
back.
It was just your Little Women.
I really felt like they did a disservice by not like even referencing like at all any Rick Moranis.
I was just going to say that I'm glad they respected his decision to stay out of acting.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I would have loved to see him, but I have an insane amount of respect for the man.
But no one even said like, boy, it's a shame that Rick Moranis isn't here.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's one of your guys' reboots? What's next?
Well, one of mine was Joker is a reboot of Now You See Me. Mostly because of the whole card theme.
Yeah, I thought it was 21 at first, but then when you explained it to me, it was clearly like a reboot of Now You See Me because...
Well, then I also thought, so I thought that, and I also thought Lucky Number 11, because that also has cards.
Right, and I think this was honestly one of the sloppier reboots of the year. I think I enjoyed the movie more than I was expecting to, but it did seem like they were trying to fit too many card reboots into the one movie.
Yeah, and Joaquin was trying like way too hard to do his best Jesse Eisenberg.
He was.
And they kept referencing the number 21, which kind of made it confusing that like it wasn't a reboot of 21.
Right. Yeah, I think
because there's no blackjack in the movie at all.
It kind of sounded like, they had too many cooks in the kitchen on that one. But ultimately, they came out at a net positive. Like I said, I expected it to be far worse than it was. And as reboots go, like, I'm interested to see where we take this new Jesse Eisenberg magician storyline, because it does completely obliterate the canon of the original movie. Like,
I am kind of surprised that it did not inspire. Like, the media got us like all hyped up and for thinking that it was going to inspire a slew of like casino robberies,
right?
But there wasn't one.
Not even one.
Not even one.
I was expecting at least one. Like I was expecting like at least one failed one, like somebody to try and fail to rob a casino using magic, and then to everyone hear about it on the news and be like, "Oh, these idiots!" But no, maybe. I mean, I guess it's possible that someone did. There have been them, and they've just been keeping it quiet because they don't want to admit.
Or like they were so good. Yeah, like they were so good at it.
All the money in the casinos is now Monopoly money, and nobody even noticed because nobody even opens the vault. I think that's a rule of casinos. Like you're not even
allowed to look at it.
No one's allowed to look at it. Frank, what's your reboot first? What's your first one to talk about? We got a whole list here. People.
What's my hit? Yeah. I want to talk about the 2019 Hellboy with David Harbour. Now, obviously, we all know it's a reboot because there was a previous incarnation of Hellboy that failed to do what this is doing. This really took the spirit of Little Nicky and carried it forward with much better modern effects than the original Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. Like, I really thought there was a lot more they could have explored with Little Nicky besides, like, he's learning to eat cereal for the first time.
Right.
And, like,
he pees outside in the street or whatever.
Like, this is the son of Satan. He's got to have some...
And I cannot believe that, like, acclaimed actor David Harbour spent 6 months with a dialect coach learning how to talk like Little Nicky.
Oh, it paid off. Like, you could really tell he was into it. I think he even said he was doing some method acting by the end, which kind of must have sucked for his friends and family to have to be around that all the time. But I think, ultimately for me, the viewer, who is the most important person when it comes to making movies, I appreciated it.
And
I would love to hear your guys' impression of David Harbour in Hellboy doing his best Little Nicky. I'd love to just hear like your rendition of it.
Scott? I'll go second.
Guys, I don't remember what Little Nicky sounds like.
I have no fucking idea what Little Nicky sounds like.
I mean, he's probably doing. He was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
You were so close.
Give us 10 seconds.
Hang on, I'll get it. Give me just 2 seconds.
Okay, you take your time.
Okay, so this is Adam Sandler's Little Nicky, and then David Harbour kind of just has like a regular, deeper voice. So it's kind of like if he was doing both at the same time, and you can't. It's really hard. Like, obviously, I need to have the dialect coach, and I hate this right now.
Ugh, this hurts my ears.
And you asked for it, so Frank.
Yeah, Frank, your turn.
Yeah, so David Harbour's just kind of one of these guys, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, I'm Little Nicky. I'm the son of the devil."
Oh my God, Frank, spot on.
Damn it. See, I was overthinking it. I got in my own head.
Mm-hmm. And you can't, and that's one of the things is David Harbour really gets out of his own head. I also think that this shows a lot of personal growth from Adam Sandler. We all know he's got that 8-movie deal with Netflix. Mm-hmm. This is the first Adam Sandler Netflix movie where he doesn't cast himself as the star.
Yeah, and it was also the first Adam Sandler Netflix movie that went to theaters. Like, it wasn't even on Netflix, which is incredible. Like, I don't think anybody, like, that's the big news with this movie that no one's talking about, is that Netflix is infiltrating our movie theaters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And Netflix subscribers, you had to bring your
You had
last
to bring your whole
statement.
computer. Oh.
Yeah, and show them you could do you could sign in.
Yeah.
And then they just let you into the theater.
They
We still had to buy popcorn.
And they didn't count the mobile app for some reason, which seemed like, in retrospect,
you had to bring your whole
solution.
laptop.
Which is so crazy because like that's like Marriage Story was in theaters, but it was also on Netflix.
Yeah, which is we're doing it, and that's a good segue into the next reboot we're going to talk about, which was Marriage Story. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to keep saying this. I love when a reboot just totally not abandons, but they're not afraid to really change things up. And I think it was an incredibly bold decision to reboot Star Wars before the last Star Wars movie had even hit theaters yet. Like, that's
just really get the jump.
It was a hell of a
it was
jump.
like kind of like a weird. It was like a prequel, but you weren't aware that it was a prequel.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't know that.
I mean, they even used his real true name that is not Ben Solo or Kylo Ren.
Yeah, which was the other name.
Yep, it was.
And
Doug.
It was probably Doug.
I'll tell you what it was. If you guys just hang on for like
so
2 seconds. Charlie. Yeah, and so like
Charlie Bolo.
I would say that I mean when I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? Why would you just change things, like change his name and be like, oh no, just kidding, this is his real name? But then I saw the new Star Wars, and that was kind of the theme, was saying, oh no, this is actually how it is despite everything you've been told.
Yeah.
And so that kind of fit with this new, I guess this is the new direction we're going. And honestly, if we're going to keep changing genres like this for each Star Wars movie, I'm open to it, but I'm worried they're going to fall in a rut.
I think one of the confusing things about the movie is that I don't know I think they meant it as a nod, but it was more confusing than not how Scarlett Johansson's character was named Daisy Ridley.
Yeah. It was really weird. I agree. Like, it kind of seemed like this honestly, to me, I think, Frank, if you'd like my 2 cents on
absolutely,
I think this is
cha-ching.
I think this is similar to how in the Avatar movies, I'm pretty sure that unobtainium was just a filler word that they forgot to take out.
They accidentally left it in,
and so they originally wanted Daisy Ridley to be in this, but they didn't have a name for her character,
and they just forgot to do the Control F.
Yeah, they forgot to Control F Daisy Ridley and change it to Winona Ryder.
Scarlett Johansson?
No, but her character, I read her character's name was supposed to be Winona Ryder.
Yeah,
but they just forgot to do the script change. Also, I'm so fucking tired of important children in Star Wars movies, and I hope this baby doesn't turn out to be. And I know he's not a baby, but I call any child under 12 a baby.
Now it's telling that they named him Luke.
Yeah, and
obviously.
so the whole point of Marriage Story, right, is like Ben or Charlie and Daisy Ridley are getting divorced, and so like they're arguing over who gets custody of their kid, and the kid is truly just the most annoying kid on the planet.
Yeah, like he's got some real dark side energy in there, right?
Reflective of Luke Skywalker, yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. Like, again, it was an incredibly bold choice. I respect it, but
It does kind of feel like a slap in the face to everything Ryan Johnson did.
One of the things I did like is that they waited until the post-credits scene to ever use any force powers. That was good.
oh
like,
yeah,
it
was
a character movie.
Because he we wait to the post-credits scene, and then suddenly he just reaches for a door, and the door opens just to a fucking Star Destroyer. Like, suddenly his house is in space, which, I mean, I think that it was more of a joke, and I appreciated it. Like, it made me laugh, and I don't know if I was
I don't know.
supposed
It's
to
kind of
laugh.
like the end credits scene of Spider-Man: Far From Home, right? Because like Nick Fury, you think he's on a beach, but then his simulation turns off, and he's
Right.
actually in space.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were going for. That could have been it. I want to talk about Us. Not Us, the three
What
of
about
us,
Us?
but Us, the
Oh.
movie by Jordan Peele, his follow-up to Get Out, which now, Rebecca, you had told me, and I think I agree with this, that it's you think it's unfair that this movie is so often compared to Get Out because it's such a different
totally.
movie.
Yeah, it's so different. Like, it's so much more funny.
Yeah, it's way funnier, and I mean, obviously, Get Out was an original story, an original work, and I'm totally fine with Jordan Peele doing a reboot for his second movie. I think it's very interesting to take Multiplicity and make it into kind of a horror thriller, but kind of leave the jokes.
But wasn't the original Multiplicity kind of a horror thriller?
By the end, it kind of was, for sure. Like, I think they could have really gotten into the implications, like what would happen if he kept cloning himself, and it did get into a little bit like what agency do these clones have, because they're just stuck living this other person's life. And I think Us decided to take that aspect of Multiplicity and make that kind of the main focus. Like, what if these people were clones forced to live the life of the original? You'd be pretty upset yourself. And in the case of Us, it ended up in murder instead of the clones opening a pizza shop in Florida.
Yeah, I just give Lupita an Oscar for her many, many roles.
Many roles. She killed it. She crushed it. It creeped me out. And then I liked it. I couldn't sleep. There was a night that I actually had trouble sleeping, and I hadn't even seen the movie yet. I was just thinking about the scene of creepy silhouetted people standing outside your house, not going away, and that just spooked the fuck out of me.
That'll do it. It gets me every time.
It spooked the fuck out of me. But yeah, what's your next movie there, Frankie? I call you Frankie now, going into 2020.
There's so many. Yeah, that's the new thing. I'll tell you what. Genuinely, one of my favorite movies of 2019, I think, is Knives Out.
Oh, it's so good.
So fucking good.
So good.
I'm delighted.
We're gonna stop telling jokes for a second. If you haven't seen Knives Out, seriously go see Knives Out.
See it.
Now we're gonna start doing jokes again.
I didn't think we were doing jokes at all this entire episode. This is our one serious episode.
This is our no joke episode.
Yeah. But what did you
Knives
love
Out
about
was
Knives
great.
Out?
Knives Out is a great murder mystery movie because it's not like every other murder mystery movie.
It's a classic whodunit, but a new
classic
whodunit.
whodunit.
It's a new whodunit.
A new whodunit.
They took everyone's second favorite whodunit movie, Clue. They took away most of the weapons.
Yeah, it's all
They only if this isn't a spoiler, they only left the knife.
Right, they left,
and then they remixed the entire game into Knives Out.
Well, and it's not they only left the knife; they made every weapon the knife. So there's
every weapon
many
is
knives.
a knife.
They kept all the rooms. The rooms are there. There's many rooms.
Same cast.
They actually add an outside, which was very fun because the Clue does not have an outside. Like, they're all stuck in the house.
Right, it's all in the house.
I love this. And Clue,
they add 2 new spices, I think.
Clue is one of those movies.
There's cardamom and there's cinnamon now.
Right, yeah. In the original Clue, there's only coriander, thyme, paprika, nutmeg, rosemary, and there's another
5,
one.
right? Yeah, that's all 5.
No,
then they add 2 more for this one.
Well, there were 6 originally. I thought there were 6 originally.
Oh, shoot, what was the 6th one?
It's fuck, Rebecca, you know this. What's the other spice?
Well, so here's the thing. I've not seen the original Clue.
Oh, it's Old Bay.
Oh, it was Old Bay. That's
Yeah, I've not seen the original Clue, so I'm sure I missed out on some of the tips of the hat in Knives Out.
You did, but see, that's also, I think, what makes such a great reboot is you don't have to have seen the original to appreciate this one. Like, there's plenty there for the super fans of Clue, and there are the super fans. But
now, Scott.
Yeah.
We live a decent ways apart. I live in Cleveland. You live in Denver. Which ending did you see when you saw Knives Out?
Oh,
There's multiple endings?
Same as the Clue movie, yeah.
yeah, this was a fun nod they did with Clue. So in the original Clue, they shot 3 different endings, and different theaters got different endings, which
Oh my heck. What?
which is super great. Yeah, this is real. This actually happened. It was super cool because then people who saw movies in different theaters would be talking about it, and then they'd be like, that's not how it ended, and then they would have to go see it again. But also the movie did terribly, and everyone hated it when it came out. And it only became like a cult classic later. But so the ending I got in Knives, Frank, was the dogs did it, and then the dogs kind of opened a pet hotel at the end in the big house.
Okay, so you got the you got the one zany ending.
I got
that
the
was
Scorsese
possible.
ending, they're calling it.
Yeah, yeah. I just got Cardamom with a knife outside.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
weird. Mine ended in like a snow globe.
Oh, shit.
Like it panned out and it was like a
Oh,
snow
shit.
globe.
So one of these reboots that that you just haven't shut up about, Rebecca, that I just feel like we need to talk about is Dark Phoenix. If you could like,
Oh my
I'm just so
God.
sick of hearing
Okay.
about this. So let's just
Oh yeah,
get it
we've been
out.
hearing about this for a while. You've been like, when can we do Dark Phoenix? I need to talk about Dark Phoenix. Here's your shot.
It's just so crazy. It is such a better origin story than the original Maleficent. It just does such a good job of like painting this character as a character who is just like so aggravating and just naps all the time. And whereas like in the original Maleficent movie, she did like too much.
She did too much.
She
Like,
did
she
too
did
much.
way
She
too
bit off
much.
too much.
So you're
Yeah.
saying less agency for my villain origin stories, please.
Yes.
Things
Oh,
should
yeah.
happen to you, not by you.
Okay.
Yeah. You should be reactive, not proactive.
Right. Now, I'm curious what your take on them getting rid of her like feathery wings and putting like she still has bird wings, but now they're on fire for some reason.
They're
Well, and
Phoenix
they're more
wings.
metaphorical too. I think Maleficent really slaps you in the face with like, this is what the wings represent. Whereas in Dark Phoenix, you kind of have to sort through the rubble and find the metaphor yourself.
And what do you think?
Now
that
they do
metaphor
help
is?
you because the flames of the wings kind of show like pictures.
Oh, so they kind
Like
of
the fire kind of makes shapes that but different people say they see different shapes.
Oh.
It's
Well,
kind
and I
of,
thought it was kind of weird because, like, what I saw was an excerpt from Merriam-Webster's dictionary that had the definition of what a phoenix was.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
Did
so
you
it's
see-
like
I haven't seen Dark Phoenix.
noun.
Frank, have you?
Yeah.
I've only read about the Phoenix diagrams online. I
okay,
haven't
real
actually
quick,
seen
real
the film.
quick, Frank. Just go hit up YouTube, find the scene,
Yeah, one
and
sec.
tell me what you see in those wings.
Yeah, one sec. Let me.
I'm looking at it right now, and I just see an episode of The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross,
Okay. Huh.
which
Yeah,
is
happy little accidents.
There's no
Okay, one
audio,
sec,
but
it's
he's
loading.
there. It's definitely him. I can see him.
Okay. It's just kind of showing me. It's showing me the original Maleficent in a smaller window.
Is it moving around real quick, so, like or fairly slowly, so that the,
Yeah, it's in the video frame. It's being projected on a football TV stadium so that
The-
the sensors don't catch it.
so that the sensor bots don't catch
you know, like
it.
YouTube does.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
I wonder what that says about us as people. This is very interesting. So, Frank, what's your movie? What's your next?
What's
on
my
the
movie?
list? What's next on
I don't
your
have.
list?
Okay. What's on my list? Boy.
Do you have a movie that you brought today to talk about? Do you have a clip?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't know we were.
I mean,
I
we
didn't know it was
usually
gonna be
usually
show
ask
and
people to
tell.
bring a clip, but I mean, it's fine
Yeah.
that you didn't.
Well, speaking of superhero movies, I feel like we need to talk about What Men Want.
Oh, for sure.
Because we were talking about Marriage Story, we were talking about shaking up genres, and What Men Want really did this.
What it was.
It's the first superhero movie rom-com that I know of.
I think, yeah, because, I mean, they basically said, hey, remember when Deadpool did that ad campaign where they pretended they were a rom-com to trick people into seeing it? What if we did that but committed to it? And
Yeah, people responded to the rom-com thing. Let's do it.
I thought the marketing was very clever about how, you know, on the poster it says like what men want, but then behind it, it's got like this faint like XOXO, right? Like you would see like, because it's an X, but the
Smoochies.
X was right before men.
right.
So it like
Oh,
subtly
they kind of
like,
told you
Yeah.
ahead of time.
like
That's
kind of
gonna be
tells
the
you
next
like,
movie.
hey, psst, this
They-
is about,
They snuck it
Yeah.
in. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's the main character, Allie Davis, is a telepathic mutant.
She's the 1st one, yeah. And she, so I
Yeah.
think, so here's, and maybe I'm misinterpreting a little bit. So my understanding is that this is So I guess, I mean, I'm not surprised that they already churned out this reboot so fast, since Disney's got the property now. They cranked this shit out. And I love the choice to make Professor X a woman. Like, I think that's incredible.
And especially casting Erykah Badu. She plays like a psychic,
Like a Whoopi Goldberg type.
right? Who gives her a magic amulet thing.
So you're saying Erykah Badu is Professor X?
Professor X.
Because I thought Taraji P. Henson was Professor X, because she's the one with the mind reading powers.
But Taraji P. Henson is Jean Grey.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Okay. No, I think you're right. I think your interpretation of it is the correct one. I can't believe I didn't even think about that. I was so just I was like, fuck yeah, Professor X is this lady, and didn't even, because the psychic is sitting down, huh? Mm-hmm. That was the clue. That was the tie-in.
Yeah,
That's
she's sitting
the
down
clue.
the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Well, now I got to rewatch it. I'm just
Her metal helmet too, kind of.
the giant metal
really
helmet.
sells it.
I didn't even notice it. I was watching.
The name
her
of her
hands.
shop was Cerebro. I don't know why you didn't catch up on any of that.
Yeah, but so yeah, this was a great rom-com reboot of X-Men. Talk to me about Shaft.
Okay, so when you hear the word shaft, what do you think of?
Frank's thinking it right now. I just think like rods, like big metal rods.
Mm-hmm. Frank, what do you think of?
The Dingles.
So the producer, like the somebody went to the studio and said, "Hey, Super Mario Brothers was real bad.
It was so bad.
It was so bad. What if we make it edgy, and instead of calling it something like pipes or tubes, we call it shaft?"
Tubes was it was almost called Tubes, which I would have been totally fine with, this movie being called Tubes.
But
Tubes is
the studio was like, "Oh, that makes us think of like ovaries and fallopian tubes, and we don't like that."
I want to think
they
of
were,
dinguses.
Yeah.
And so it's weird that they renamed Mario John Shaft. Like, I think then they took it a little too far, I guess. Like, they were like, oh, yes, Shaft
because they
everywhere.
kept Luigi as Luigi Shaft.
I thought it was kind of cool that like Samuel L. Jackson was like so on board to play Mario.
Oh, yeah. I loved that. I mean, I'm always happy to see Sam Jackson down to clown. Just there
Here's
to have
the
a
thing.
good time.
I basically paid $13 to watch Samuel L. Jackson do the Italian accent.
It was
and
worth
he nailed it.
It was worth it. I thought...
And now, his brother Luigi Shaft being John Leguizamo,
well, and then,
I think it was fine.
Yeah, but then the weird thing was, too, they introduced that there's been, like, many generations of Shafts. And so, like, you meet old
Shaft-Harios.
Shaft, and he's the original one who actually defeated King Koopa, and we learned that this Mario Shaft, is a new guy. And he's got a baby who's a grown man, but it's his son.
And it was a little, I don't know, I think it was a little disingenuous that only the original Shaft was a plumber.
Yeah, I thought I could have done with more plumbing in this
because
movie.
our current iteration of Shaft is an all-star NYPD cop that knows how to use guns.
What did you guys think of
And that kind of powers up Mario.
What did you guys think of how they did Bowser Jr., though?
I thought it was a little racist.
CG was good quality, but I just think, it was a little rough.
Yeah, I think it was problematic. Like, this movie was clearly, trying to break some boundaries, and there was one that maybe shouldn't have been broken, but the rest of it, I could have done with a little more tubes. He does not go into that many tubes, and I think ultimately it's kind of the same. I think it's better than the 1980s Super Mario Brothers movie, but I do still think they're too scared to make the movie that they should. Like, they were holding themselves back, and I think this movie suffered for it.
And they own the pipe, what, they only use that noise in the sex scenes.
Yeah, it was
they were trying to be too edgy still.
And there were a lot of sex scenes, which was also
surprising. A lot of them. Well, you're talking about pipes and shafts. There's a lot of metaphors.
Yeah, and I think the weirdest thing about them was that like 5 out of the 7 of them were just Toad. It was all about Toad's sex scenes, which I think is an odd choice. Toad, the guy with the mushroom on his head. You know Toad?
Yeah, I know Toad.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
always like, he kept saying how he's the best, and then he'd hop in his little cart and drive away. But overall, like, it was a fun movie. I did love, seeing Sam Jackson just chew all the scenery, have a great time.
Mm-hmm. Shooting enemies in the head instead of jumping on them.
Oh.
Again, like, they're just trying to be edgy,
Right.
and it was like, fine, whatever.
He jumped on the guy once, and I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
More of this, please, though.
I did like the use of like shrooms. Like
Yes,
shrooms
were
is a more
huge part of it.
psychedelic element.
Right. It's still a level up, but it's not.
I understand why they couldn't call the Goombas in this, because they were actual Italian people instead of small little mushroom men. So, like, I get it, but I think they should.
But the fact that every single one of them was named Vinny.
That exactly, like, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back with this movie a lot of the time. It's still 1 step net forward, but like we could have done without we could
Slow
have been going a little faster. Speaking of Sam Jackson, Glass came out this year, and I thought this movie came out like 3 years ago, because 2019 has been the longest year of every year.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, you thought 2018 was long. Whew.
Yeah, this is here we are. I did think that, and now this is the long one. But so this is a movie where, we already had 2 previous movies in this franchise, and they waited long enough and decided, you know what, let's kind of start it over. They couldn't get Sandra Bullock, they couldn't get William Shatner, or they chose not to. I'm not really entirely sure, because they were in the first 2 Miss Congeniality movies, but for whatever reason, they didn't even think to give them cameos, which I think was disappointing. But I don't know. I guess Rebecca, what did you? I'm curious to hear your thoughts as a modern woman.
Mm-hmm. Well, so there was a lot of fun little nods to like the original Miss Congeniality. Like, for example, the whole movie takes place on April 24th, which is, if you remember from Miss Congeniality, the perfect day.
Date. Yep.
Because not too hot, it's not too cold. All you need is a light jacket. But I thought deciding to enter, again, Samuel L. Jackson into a beauty pageant to try to take down, because Sarah Paulson runs this like for-profit beauty pageant that's like slowly monopolizing like all beauty pageants and taking over. And so he decides to like infiltrate it and like take it down from the inside, which was, and there was just a lot of different ways they could have done it. I thought it was weird that they decided to put him in a dress, but like also keep him in the wheelchair.
Yeah, well, and it was weird too, because it honestly, so a big thing in the original Miss Congeniality is you got to learn how to walk. You got to learn how to walk down the runway, right? And he couldn't do that. It was such an obvious opportunity to like have him relearn to walk with his glass bones, and they did it. They were like, no, just put him in the chair. Put him in the chair with the weird spikes.
There's a scene in Miss Congeniality where she like almost gets hit by a cab, and she's like, "Hey, I'm walking here," and they couldn't do that with this character.
He didn't talk about So they were like, he
didn't once declare that he was walking, because he wasn't walking.
Right. He could have said something else, but so I mean, and then putting Bruce Willis also in it. Well, so I mean, he's there in his poncho, which. I guess like they kind of it was like a beauty pageant plus fashion show, because you know how some fashion shows, they're just off the wall.
Yeah, he was only poncho.
But James McAvoy like never wore a shirt.
Never
wore a shirt. It was so inconsistent.
Right, no fashion at all.
No fashion at all, and he's like, but then sometimes he was the woman in charge of the beauty pageant. I think what was happening was that what they were doing. It was kind of hard to follow at points.
Yeah, there was kind of, and then there's like a 20-minute chunk in the middle where they all just like leave the beauty pageant and like start a fight.
Right. Yeah. Like it's almost
like, are we still doing the beauty pageant or no?
I'm honestly like, it kind of feels like the people who did this didn't even bother watching the original Miss Congeniality. They were like, no, we get it. Beauty pageant. There can't be much there. Yeah. Secrets, guns, and beauty pageant. It's fine. So, I mean, I would have liked, I think ultimately I kind of agree with the critics. It was a bit underwhelming, especially from a reboot perspective. Like, there is such a thing as getting rid of too much of the original. And I think they did that here, where it's barely recognizable as a Miss Congeniality reboot. And I don't think it's often that negative reviews make it to this list, but I think this was notable just because everyone was like, we wanted it so bad. We were like, give me that reboot. Okay, what's next?
Let's talk about some dogs.
I like dogs. They're
Dogs
good.
are great.
Dogs
You're
is
talking about
good.
dogs' purposes or dogs' journeys?
Journeys this year.
Journeys.
Journeys is this year.
Journeys is this year. And this is the one where the dog is still Dennis Quaid's dog.
No.
No.
It's Randy Quaid.
No, it's Dennis.
No, in this one, it's Randy Quaid.
I'm pretty sure that's Dennis.
Don't worry. I'm Googling it.
Yeah,
Oh, that is Dennis Quaid.
It's definitely Dennis. He's all old and gravelly.
It's not
now.
Randy?
Definitely Dennis.
That was Randy.
Oh, Josh Gad is there?
He's the dog.
No.
Yeah.
Josh Gad. Well, the dog is played. It's they do it like Darth Vader, right? There's a dog in the dog suit, and then it's voiced by Josh Gad.
Hold on. There's a dog in the dog suit?
Yeah, and then it's voiced by Josh Gad.
Yeah,
like
they got
Vader.
a dog to play the dog, and then the dog was surprised to learn that they wouldn't be using the dog's voice, and that they are in fact
Right.
using Josh Gad's
He
voice.
got the shaft.
Oh, we're done talking about Shaft.
That's right. But so this was the movie about. This was.
Oh, this is the reincarnate dog movies.
Yeah.
What's the...
Oh, this is the dog reincarnation universe.
Oh, Dog's Way Home is the lost one. Okay, dog reincarnation. It's a reboot of...
Well, so I think what's interesting about a dog's journey. So normally when we do a reboot, right, it's either we're adding a sequel, we're redoing the franchise from the beginning. But this time they decided to take and only reboot the second movie in the All Dogs Go to Heaven series. I think there might be a third one even. But so the second one, Charlie B. Barkin is up in heaven. He's having a good time.
Good God.
And they send him back to Earth.
No, okay, so apparently Charlie B. Barkin welcomes his friend Itchy, Dom DeLuise, into heaven, but he's
Correct.
disillusioned by the afterlife.
Right. Charlie's bummed about it, and then he volunteers to go back to Earth.
Well, so
In
their
the
old
original.
enemy, Carface Carruthers, steals Gabriel's horn but
That's
loses
right.
it somewhere over San Francisco in his attempt to escape with
He
it.
steals it for Satan, who is a cat.
Oh
Yeah.
my lord.
So, and
Tells him if he brings Gabriel's horn, he'll get him out of hell.
right. So I think it was weird to kind of, I don't know that weird's the right word. It was just different that they chose to only reboot the second movie. Like normally you reboot
Yeah.
from the beginning or you add another one on and you can do some retcons like Marriage
And
Story
it's
did.
all because of the Gabriel's horn hook. They wanted to use Gabriel's horn, and that's not in the first movie.
Right, that's not in the first movie, and so they kind of in the original Charlie, he wears this collar that makes him corporeal. Or no, he gets the collar from Satan. And in this, because he's just ethereal, and he tries to smooch a lady dog, and he can't. It's a whole thing. And so then he makes a deal with the devil. And in this one, it's weird because the deal with the devil is kind of off screen. And it's implied that, that demon deal is what keeps reincarnating this dog so he can stay with this family he loves so much. I kind of feel like they're setting it up for a third movie because they kind of don't. It seems like they need to address you made a Zozo deal to make this happen. But there's like no consequence, like nothing bad happens to this dog. It's all
Right,
about
Dennis Quaid just gets to keep his dog.
Well, in this one, that's the other weird thing. It's not Dennis Quaid's dog anymore. He gives the dog follows his daughter around. Like his daughter now grows up.
Oh, okay.
And Dennis Quaid, for some reason, doesn't get to see his daughter. I couldn't really follow what they were doing there. And it's the other thing, too, it's hard to tell if Dennis is supposed to be Charlie B. Barkin or if the dog is supposed to be Charlie B. Barkin.
There's a lot of plot going on in both of these movies
Right.
that I can't keep up with.
I do think, I don't know that I agree
and
with them
there's a couple
getting-
parts where I swear Dennis Quaid barked.
Yeah. And he sounded a little bit like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
But so I think they might have just. This is actually an interesting piece of trivia. Dennis Quaid can't bark. Like, he doesn't know how.
What?
He just pretended to bark, and then they just took some original audio from Burt Reynolds barking as Charlie B. Barkin and just put that over because they just had it in the studio. But
See, I would have never noticed that.
it's kind of like how Benedict Cumberbatch can't say penguin, but it's just Dennis can't make a barking sound. And so it's just, it's All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 had music, and this one didn't, which also was surprising. Like, I think the music is why people watch All Dogs Go to Heaven. They want to see them dogs singing. And that didn't happen here. It was just like, hey, this dog just keeps dying and doesn't care that his soul is trapped forever here on Earth because of this Zozo deal. So I think if they don't make a third movie, then this movie will be disappointing. But if they can really make a third movie that addresses everything that was set up in this movie, I think it could really pay off.
Sure.
Have you guys heard about 21 Bridgets? Did you see it?
I am bummed because I did not get a chance to see 21 Bridgets, but I cannot wait for it to come out to streaming.
Right.
I've not seen it, mostly because I'm irritated at the fact that you think you can just stop the 21 Bridgets.
Well, and that also that Bridget Jones's diary needed a reboot. Because that's the one, her diary, is it a sex journal? Is that the one?
It's a sex journal.
Well, it's really just a diary.
Oh, am I thinking, what's the one about, that's the Little Black Book. It's different. So what does she put in the diary? Is her diary even in this new one? Because there's 21 Bridgets.
Wait,
Well,
have none of us seen it?
I thought it was that she had like 21 diaries.
Oh, and is it like a Horcrux situation?
They're hidden all
Yeah.
over the city, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to shut down Manhattan.
And Chadwick Boseman has to like go find all of them
Yeah.
before they all explode the bridges.
But then wasn't he one of the Bridgets? Isn't that like one of the twists is that he's a Bridget? Like his middle name, I think. I don't like I'm
Well, I don't know. I didn't see it.
I also didn't I really thought one of you guys saw it. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I don't know why this is on the list.
was hoping one of us would be able to drive this, but I haven't seen it
I thought one
either.
of us would have seen 21 Bridgets because it was. I don't even think I saw a trailer for it. I just heard someone talking about 21 Bridgets and Chadwick Boseman, and I was like, oh damn, interesting. But the time just kind of got away from me. Huh. Well, okay.
Well-
I mean, I guess this must
Yeah,
have
I
been
guess-
good. I mean, where
Yeah,
did
I
we go
guess
wrong?
we're going to the next one.
Okay. What's the next one, Frank?
We're talking about feel-good movies of 2019. Just some fun action. Charlie's Angels, right?
Yes.
thank you.
I would like to talk about that feel-good movie, Charlie's Angels. So much better than anyone could have hoped for. A
It's
delightful
like surprisingly heartwarming.
I loved it. I had such a good time. I got to see Kristen Stewart act well, which was very nice.
Yeah, it was just fun because you could tell she was just having a good time.
She's just having a good time. And I understand that she's gotten a bad rap, I think mostly because she's, not, I don't think it's her fault that she was told not to act in Twilight. But that's kind of where she ended up, and I'm glad to see her getting out of that. I do now. I think I'm glad you brought this one, Frank. I'm glad you brought it up, but I hope you don't mind me kind of weighing in a lot more, because this is a reboot of something that's near and dear to my heart. Touched by an Angel was a show that my family watched a lot every week growing up.
Yep.
So that was filmed in Salt Lake City, and so like I remember distinctly, you would
So
go
you've
play.
met Della Reese.
You've met Della Reese?
Yeah, I've been touched by an angel. So like, but
Wow.
it was kind of cool because you would just go different places and you'd see, oh, can't go there today because they're filming Touched by an Angel.
Oh man, so you've been in that
Wow.
and the High School Musical. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very
So they
cool.
bring I did like they didn't talk a lot about the actual angels in the Charlie's Angels reboot, right?
They just call
But
them
I
angels
did like
and then
the
they act
subtle
like it's not
right.
a thing. Yeah, they're just like, yeah, they're angels.
And Della Charlie Reese
right.
being just the only reference.
That's honestly one of my favorite things. So I don't mind when a movie has to explain things, but I also love when a movie just decides they don't need to. And so in this, they just call them angels because in this, everybody just knows about angels. Like they're just like,
Right.
yeah, they're the angels. I think it's possible, Frank, that someone heard our previous episode about Touched by an Angel and took some stuff from there. I mean, granted, ours was
Could be.
We rebooted the show as an anime. It had a lot of anime elements. It was very.
Right.
It wasn't exactly this, but I
Yeah.
mean, they took a lot of the.
Now,
action
one of the
elements.
things they did keep is the angel laser beams.
They kept the angel laser beams, yeah. And I think,
Right.
and I mean, it's fun because they kind of explain in this movie now, instead of the original Touched by an Angel never really explained where angels come from, and in this movie.
Right.
They do, in that they just recruit regular people, and then it's kind of cool because the angels are almost like sci-fi. Like they put this little tattoo on you, and then you're an angel, and you can like talk to other angels with it, and it's cool because it's like. I'm a big fan of taking, mythology and kind of twisting it around into something new. I don't know if you guys have ever played the video game Too Human, but it's about like all the Norse mythology, but what if instead of them being gods, they were just incredibly technologically advanced robot people, which is very similar to how Marvel treats them as well. They're just super sophisticated aliens and their technology looks like magic. So I kind of like that they did that a little bit with the angels here. I think Elizabeth Banks was a great recast of Roma Downey. I would have liked to see Elizabeth Banks try to do an Irish accent. I think that could have been great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that she didn't, though. It would have gone off the rails.
I think, yeah. So I think it's probably good that she didn't. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Like I trust them, and I trust her as the director of this movie. I think I would have liked to have seen the attempt. But I loved this cast. One thing I thought was fun was the one angel is very, very tall. and it turns out she's not actually tall. Everyone else in this movie is very short. That's just a fun piece of trivia. Like she looks gigantic next to all of them because they're all like 5'4" and she's like 5'10".
Well, I think that's like, I really like that they did that because if you, this is so silly. Like if you read in the Bible, there's an actual passage that states like angels can't be taller than 5'3".
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they said, fuck that. This one is like, but they also never really tell you that. Like you have to know this about the actresses. Like they don't, so they kind of,
Right,
and I guess they didn't want to offend, like they didn't want to cause another, Christian panic by trying to change the Bible. I think it's interesting that they kind of, God being a woman at the end was just like, I loved it. Like, it's not the first time they've done it. Whoopi played God in the Muppets.
Alanis Morissette
did it. And I always appreciate it when it's done well. And so I really liked it. I think this movie did not get the love that it deserved. I think it really respected the source material while, making it its own. So I think anyone, if you haven't seen the new Charlie's Angels, go see it. It's a great time. Everybody kills it. Patrick Stewart's in it, which I didn't know until I saw it, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, cool twist letting him play Satan.
Yeah, but also cool twist making him delightful and enjoyable instead of just, oh, I'm Satan, I'm evil. Like nobody saw it coming. I loved it. Like it's so good. Talk to me about Ford v Ferrari.
Okay, so this is a prequel to Pacific Rim, and it goes a little bit more into detail about how, we didn't build, what's the word? Jaegers. We didn't build Jaegers to fight the kaiju. We built the Jaegers as kind of like a plaything for us humans, right? We built them to raise each other and fight each other. And so,
and they had wheels at first,
and
right?
they had wheels,
which is interesting.
To make them go faster. And so this is really just the story of not the first Jaegers, but the attempts to push these Jaegers to their limits and to become the fastest Jaegers.
Yeah, and I think it does it honestly, it adds that little bit of needed context of holy shit, how the fuck did they make Jaegers so in the original movie it's kaiju showed up. Oh, suddenly we built Jaegers? How the fuck did you make them so fast? And this
somebody had to have a kickstart.
This movie explains, no, they were already building them for different things, and then they were oh, we can just fight the giant robots with these.
They were building them to race.
Right.
But now they need to protect the human race.
Oh, yes.
That was one of the taglines.
Yeah.
That's not an original.
Now, Rebecca, what did you think of the choice of Christian Bale being Idris Elba's character's great grandfather?
Not a fan, but I'm also just not a huge fan of Christian Bale in general.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. I wouldn't have done it.
I think honestly they should have had John Boyega do that one, and then we could all just kind of pretend Pacific Rim 2 didn't really happen. That could have been
because then all those parts in Pacific Rim 2 where they said, "Oh my gosh, you look just like your great grandfather." They would have had some backing instead of just being a throwaway line in the movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think Charlie Day being in there as just the same age raises some questions.
And the same guy.
The same guy, right. Same guy, same... I think he tries... there's a moment where he someone says his name and he... I think they're supposed to... They tried to trick us into thinking he's not the same guy, but he's clearly the same guy, right?
Yeah.
He's somehow immortal.
He keeps saying over and over and over, my lifespan's 100 years. I'll probably be dead in 60 years. I'm not going to live forever. No one's immortal. That's wrong.
Yeah, which... And I feel if they hadn't done that, then I would have just accepted it. But now
I would have just let it go.
He's definitely the same guy. So maybe we're going to get a Charlie Day spinoff. Is that what they're doing?
Maybe.
Again, trying to kind of undo Pacific Rim 2. Does he die in Pacific Rim 2?
No.
Yeah. He's the bad guy. He's
the bad guy.
Which
doesn't he
so dumb.
eat a kaiju heart and then become part alien or something?
He creates his own kaiju, right?
Because he learns how to drift with the kaiju.
Yeah, he learns how to drift with the kaiju. God.
Pacific Rim 2 is so bad, you guys.
Pacific Rim 1 was a delightful, wonderful, great dumb time.
A gem of a movie.
And then they were what if we touched it some more and ruined it?
What if we took some fan fiction we saw on the internet and put John Boyega in it?
And then Ford v Ferrari is clearly kind of a I mean, they're doing a reboot. They're starting it over, which I hope that
trying to
they're
do some retcon stuff.
I hope that they're going to at least keep Pacific Rim 1 in the canon because I think it's perfect. But I understand if they kind of need to tweak things a bit because of this reboot. So Frank, me and you, I know we've been kind of dying to talk about this movie. Gemini Man.
We've been sleeping on it.
I want to talk about it because I, of course, am a Gemini. And that's how
and
live
I,
my
of
life.
course, am a man.
Oh my God, you
right.
guys.
It's kind of if they took both of us and put us in a movie.
And just
I'm
mushed them
obviously
together.
old Will Smith. You're young Will Smith.
I'm young Will Smith, naturally.
Natch.
So here's the thing: The Parent Trap has been rebooted at least once. I think there
So
might be
many
a second.
times.
Like it's been done a few times. They did that. Not a direct reboot, but a similar movie. Mary-Kate and Ashley. I think it's called It Takes Two. Right? They're twins who didn't know they were.
I think that's right. Yeah, It Takes Two.
It's not a direct reboot, but so this movie's been done a lot, and so
Yeah.
I think no one expected them to go back to. I mean, they kind of went back to its roots, where it's like let's just get one guy to play the two parts,
Right.
Unlike Mary-Kate and
We're
Ashley,
gonna do the split screen.
right? But instead of doing splits, they did do split screen, but then they added that Disney youngification CG on top of it.
They youngified Will Smith.
They're getting better at it, but it's still weird.
Mm-hmm.
And
Still kind of weird.
So I don't think anyone expected.
It still just looks like they took him and just made him smooth.
They just really
the
smoothed
smooth
him.
Prince
They
of
just
Bel-Air.
smoothened him.
That's right. I've been having a hard time ever really putting it to words why it feels weird, but that's exactly it. It's like they said this, but smooth.
How do we make people look younger? Smooth them.
Right. And then, they did it with Princess Leia. They did it with Flynn from
Samuel L.
Tron.
Jackson.
They did it with
Samuel
Robert Downey Jr.'s.
Roberts Downey's Jr.'s, they did it to him. But so this movie, I think, we're getting there. But that's not the point. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how...
And this movie shakes up the formula by ditching the parents,
the parents
pretty early
are
in the
gone.
film.
So it's almost... I think the military organization they work for is kind of supposed to be the parents, but it's not really...
especially because it's called DAD.
It's called
an
Daddy.
acronym.
Yeah, but with an I.
What is it?
With an I.
What does it stand for?
It's the Department of
Augmented Deputized Dangerous Individuals.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what it is. And so
Because Will Smith is an agent of Daddy.
they're both agents
And
of
then,
Daddy, right?
and then they call the MacGuffin in the movie Mother. That's a whole
yeah.
thing.
And
that's a
What
little
is
bit
Mother?
more ham-fisted.
What does mother stand for?
The mother is the seed of life on for alien planets.
yeah, this is an alien planet movie.
So kind of like a kombucha. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
kind of.
what is the puck in kombucha called?
What is the what?
Like the puck
It's
of like
like-
bacteria that makes
It's
it
like
happen.
The mother. Hold on, I'll find it.
Is it are you guys thinking of like mother bread?
No, mother dough is a different thing.
The mother
It's
dough?
called a
What is
SCOBY.
mother? Oh, that's a SCOBY. Yeah.
The SCOBY in the kombucha is a puck of yeast and bacteria cultures that gets the kombucha going.
Rebecca, mother dough is when it's like is it only a thing in sourdough bread, Frank? Or is it any bread?
I think it's other breads, but sourdough's the big one.
So like you make a bread and then you keep some and you set some of the dough aside and it continually like ferments in yeasts and then
But isn't that what it's called in
It's just
sourdough
starter
bread?
dough.
Isn't sourdough bread
Yeah.
also a SCOBY?
well
Maybe?
but
Sourdough starter.
there's also a mother dough. That's a thing. Anyway, this movie, like, so the daddy is the daddy, and I mean, I agree. Mother was a little ham-fisted, especially because then we only ever see the one Will Smith interact with daddy. The other one is always
Right.
with the mother. But all that said, like, it's very cool to see what if Parent Trap 1 was about two dudes
Right.
instead of two girls. For once, we get a movie about us. And
Yeah.
secondly, two grown-ass men. One man less
Two-
grown-ass than the other.
And
man.
can I tell you what I like the most? When they meet, they don't say, "Oh, we should switch." They say, "We should team up."
Right. That's what I appreciated too.
It's
They were both like-
refreshing.
they're both like, "Hey, what the fuck, parents? Like, you don't just split us up. That's not a thing you can just do and act like that's okay." So then they team up, and then I think in the ultimate kind of like, I think it's a twist on the original, and it's clearly like a wink and a nod to parents being a thing. Is old Will Smith adopts young Will Smith, and like he becomes the father instead of them still being brothers. Which I mean, it's It's
He
weird.
becomes the father, or he becomes the daddy.
He becomes the well, but yes, both.
Yeah, it gets messy because there's daddy, and then he calls him daddy with a Y.
Well, and it's also weird because the guy who the like top level military guy in charge of daddy, his title is father. Like he's the father of daddy.
He's the father of daddy.
Like there were some points where they were, okay, we get it. It's Parent Trap. Like you don't need to lean so hard into the parent stuff. Oh no, sorry. He's not called father. He's called Papa. He's the Papa of daddy.
I really like the assault rifles they use. They're called Oreos.
Yeah, and he's like, and then the one, these two, no other agents do this, but they put peanut butter on their bullets because it makes them slide through the barrel easier.
It makes them sticky.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
It makes them go whoosh.
Oreo and peanut butter, and it's fun because like that wasn't in the original. Like they're taking stuff from each version of Parent Trap,
Right.
You know, through the years.
And
so,
Lindsay Lohan has a great cameo.
oh my gosh, it's incredible. Like I don't even want to spoil it. It's just
Right,
you don't
yeah,
even
no,
see
you
Oh
it.
my
just
god,
gotta
but like
watch
I
it.
want to know.
Well, like you just,
You gotta watch it.
I think just none of us expected her, like.
To have the impact on the movie that she did.
Well, and it's just they kind of don't really talk about. They do such a good job of hiding the fact that the main thing that the bad guys are trying to accomplish is putting like human heads on horse bodies, and so I don't. She sells it. She does a really good job.
She sells it really good.
Does it tie it to like the existing Parent Trapiverse?
I don't.
It's
think
mostly
that it does.
nods. It's mostly nods and then a Lindsay Lohan cameo.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's. I guess I never actually thought about it, but it could be in that verse. I don't know. They don't really address it. I think they want to leave it open so that we have this discussion right now.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah. What do you guys want to do next?
I will gladly talk about Brightburn.
Tell me about Brightburn. And this is not a Superman reboot, I understand?
No, so the
The
marketing
trailers
is
were kind of deceiving.
yeah. So the marketing is really like it. The way that like I talked to people about it was like, hey, you know, like the comic Red Sun, where like what if Superman like landed in like Russia, and it's like this is like the trailer is really painted as like what if Superman
What
but
if
evil
story, for sure.
But what's crazy is when it looks like he's flying, he's not flying, he's doing leaps because it's actually a Billy Elliot reboot. And so his like dance powers are like too much. And so like 90% of the movie is just Elizabeth Banks running around going, Billy, Billy. And he's like terrifying because like he sees people in the town that like make fun of him for liking dance and he just like straight up dances them into the ground.
How does the move, like, I'm just curious how they explain the laser eyes with dancing.
So it's kind of like this muscle that you can only really flex once you've developed, like dancers can do this, right? So like they spend years and years and years training for like working this muscle, and eventually like once you do it like just right, it allows you to shoot lasers out of your eyes.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. I have a best friend who's a
and
dancer.
so-
I gotta ask her.
Yeah, and so like Billy's been dancing for, his entire goddamn life, so now he's like a pro at it.
Even though he's only 7 or 9 or however old he is.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now in the original Billy Elliot, like he didn't have, I guess like he was the best dancer, but I guess JJ and whoever else made this movie felt like it wasn't obvious enough that he was the very best. And so they just kind of had to like, is this a good movie is my question. And I know that's not a question that we're allowed to ask on Rebootleggers, but I feel like here it's kind of merited.
So it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. I'm super curious to see what they do in the Broadway adaptation.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, Tom Holland was the Broadway Billy Elliot. Oh. And so
wow.
I'm kind of wondering, like,
So do they just put
will
him on
we get
strings or is he just doing hella leaps?
like hella leaps?
That's incredible. I would like to.
Yeah.
I'd
He
really
was
like
just
to see that.
practicing for Spider-Man the whole time.
Uh-huh.
I also
Yeah.
think like it's because from what I understand, the original Billy Elliot, they don't really establish like your dancing is dangerous. It's just like, haha, you like dancing, whatever. But I guess the ramifications
delves
in the original
Yeah,
Billy
so
Elliot
Brightburn
aren't there.
Brightburn kind of delves into the lore, more into the lore of like dance, right? And so like so they live in this small town, right? And the whole reason like everyone makes fun of people for dancing is because there was one dancer. This is also, it ties into Footloose.
I was gonna say, is this a Footloose?
Who
Or
was-
It's yeah.
Who was
I'm sorry, Dirty
powerful
Dancing.
and like and like razed a whole town, right? Like just
Yeah.
utterly destroyed it because his dancing was too good. And so that's why like over generations they've tried to make sure that they make sure nobody wants to dance, and so the only route they could think of to go was like belittling.
Now, in the lore, did he was it on purpose, or was it just like nobody fully
Nobody
understood?
knew. Like nobody understood.
This is
Yeah.
what's going to happen if you dance too good. You will destroy things. Does Kevin Bacon get a cameo in this? Like, is he like an old wise man they ask for advice or something, or?
No, but they drop a line that's like, "Oh, you think you're getting pretty footloose, huh?" Like they drop a weird like line.
They would
that
say
feels
like,
kinda
"Oh,
forced.
that dancing's dirty."
Some dirty dancing.
And like, would you like some bacon, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's okay. Interesting. Well, it kind of sounds like it was better than I thought it was going to be. Like, it seems like it's at least interesting to see, if not like an objectively good movie. Does he wear a cape in the original movie?
No, just like a wife beater.
Okay. Let's talk. Let's close this out. And with
close this out.
Possibly everyone's. I think this is at the top of everyone's like. You got to see this. You know, it's A24. It's so good. Like, it's going to be artsy. Not everyone's going to get it. Some people are going to hate it because they like don't understand movies.
And speaking of Sandra Bullock reboots,
we're going to talk about The Lighthouse. I mean, they said, you know, instead of a lake, let's put it on the ocean. Oh, the only houses right on the ocean are lighthouses. So lake house, lighthouse, there we go.
Yeah, calling it the Ocean House. It's
another
not.
controversial hit is they were not able to get Sandra Bullock or Keanu Reeves.
Well, Keanu's busy.
He's making those Johnny Wick movies.
John Wick is busy, or Keanu Reeves is busy becoming the first actor to appear in 3 separate trilogies. So he's got a pass, I believe. You guys are trying to think of the 3 trilogies, aren't you?
So there's The Matrix, there's John Wick, and Bill and Ted.
Oh, you did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
That wasn't hard.
Come at me.
I'm sorry.
But anyway,
That wasn't hard, Scott. We love Keanu Reeves.
So they got the 2 actors that were available, right?
Right.
Willem Dafoe
Yeah.
and Robert Pattinson.
Which, I mean, there are worse actors to get. Like, I'm surprised.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Great
you
choice.
make it sound, look, obviously they did say yes because they weren't doing anything else, but it's not like they weren't doing anything else because they can't get work. They're just...
Yeah. And again, Robert Pattinson's such a good actor, but the problem is it's the writing that they give him where over and over he keeps saying, like, it'll be Twilight soon. They keep saying the word Twilight, and it's like, I get it. You're Robert Pattinson, but like, let the boy shine.
I think at one point
like,
he does call Willem Dafoe Harry, even though that's not his character's name either.
But then, like, halfway through the movie, they pivot and move away from the Twilight stuff as if, like, passing the baton from franchise to franchise because now he's Batman, right? So then, like, they pivot and they're like, now let's introduce you to the Batman.
Now,
yeah, and he says, Willem Dafoe, you're a real joker.
Right. Now, so since this is a reboot of The Lake House, how much time travel communication do we have in this new one?
There's a lot. Like, a surprising amount.
It's mostly kind of trippy timeline manipulation.
Are there ghosts? I heard there might be
Like, I
ghosts.
just got here last week. I've been here for 1,000 years kind of stuff.
There's not ghosts, but there's mythical sea creatures.
Oh, fun. So, okay, so do they... I forgot my question. So
it's okay. I can say it. I don't know about Trepidatious. They do both fuck different mermaids.
okay, different mermaids, and they do
Different mermaids. They do not do any Eskimo cousin business.
They do explain once and for all the answer of how does one do that. Interesting.
Yeah, the director actually did a lot of research into how sharks get busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not a bit. That's actual fact.
That's yeah.
Wait.
This is the no joke zone.
The no joke zone.
Wait, do they actually fuck mermaids?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the director
Yeah.
like researched how sharks.
Oh, wait, you haven't actually seen The Lighthouse, have you?
No, I need to. I've heard.
No,
it's...
they actually fuck mermaids.
Now I do hear that you see one or both of their beepus, the bepists. Is that
Oh,
correct?
UC Dingle and UC Dangle.
Oh, both Dingle and Dangle come out.
Those are
Yeah,
my
and
nicknames
Robert
for them.
Pattinson jerks off while wearing a Paddington hat.
Oh, Robert Paddington.
To be fair, he is in a rainstorm.
Now I do think that is like, I get why that's funny, but also like I don't think we should be besmirching Paddington in such a way, and I do have some beef with the director because of that. Like, Paddington needs to remain pure.
Right.
And
For some
wonderful.
reason, he decided that he was going to take a jab at Paddington.
Right. Like, why?
Like, yeah, no one. What?
No one is upset with Paddington. You're not cool or edgy for saying that, for taking, like, no one's on your side on this. Like, Paddington is
Right, exactly. It's
beloved.
It's cheap.
So the thing about the lighthouse, so like in the lake house, right, there's a time travel or a mailbox that like delivers letters through time, right? So in the lighthouse, it's a seagull.
Oh.
And that's why, like, in the trailers, you see Willem Dafoe's always like, oh, it's bad luck. It's bad luck to kill a seagull.
Because then we can't get our
Because it's how he gets messages from the future.
From the future.
Yeah.
Is it clear what year the lighthouse takes place? Do we know if it's our present, future, or past?
No, and that's what I love.
We don't know
about
for
it,
certain.
is
Yeah.
because it's timeless. It could be taking place anywhere. Kind of like It Follows. Like It Follows was designed to look like it takes place now and in the past,
Right.
and that's what the lighthouse
We
does.
don't
It's like
see
you have
any
no
laser
idea.
boats, so we can't say for sure. Cool. And they grow big beards,
Oh, huge.
which was not in the lake house, if I recall. Like, there was
No, the lake house
100%
didn't
less
have beards.
beards in the lake
Oh,
house.
did Keanu not have a beard?
I don't think he did.
This was pre-John Wick, so
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no
he didn't-
beard, pretty clean cut.
clean
He
cut.
didn't have the
Good
chop
boy.
shop, which is what I call Keanu.
Well, I think my takeaway here is I absolutely have to watch The Lighthouse. And but yeah, I mean, obviously there were other reboots that happened this year. This is just our list of not even necessarily like the best or our favorites, just the ones that we think are most worth talking about. I've never said this before, but if you have ones, go ahead and tweet me about them. I don't know how to do this.
Tweet us.
We have a Twitter.
Just please, God, just tweet us.
I hear we need to be
Please.
more on the social medias. We're just
Mention
there.
us.
Yeah,
At
we
Rebootleggers.
want to be hip to the cool kids, but we don't have TikTok.
Give me that at. So yeah, this is us. We're wrapping up 2019. It's been a great year. So many good guests. Thanks to all of them. We've got a third co-host, which is very exciting now.
You're welcome.
I'm excited for 2020 when we'll be slamming and jamming nonstop.
Slamming and jamming, bringing back Kool-Aid jammers to our slam jammers.
But bringing back
We're gonna cram some Kool-Aid jammers into our slam jammers.
right.
Hammers.
Yeah. I guess this is a thing I'm deciding right now. I want to know what are our reboot resolutions for 2020?
Reboot solutions.
Yeah, mine is more snakes.
Okay. Less ham.
I would love to see more movies gunning for Oscar bait.
From
like all
us.
of them. Like every movie.
You want us to be making Oscar bait more. I think we haven't really touched that arena. I previously thought giant robots were Oscar bait, but I was misinformed, which I think is more of a flaw with the Academy
Yep.
than me.
Sure.
Tell me about it.
Well, that's going to do it. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode and the whole year. Until next year, I'm Scott Owen.
Oh,
I'm
Dad.
Frank Sarah. See you next decade.
My two dads. I'm Rebecca Frost.
And what's the password for next week? Each of you give me a word.
Dank.
Decade.
Also, subscribe and like on iTunes and give us a good rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
And drink Mountain Dew.
And drink Mountain Dew.
You know what we don't talk enough about? Vaginas.
Yes, I have so many questions.
I have so many questions.
Like, what is this and why would I want to put it there?
I don't know. We should bring somebody in to talk about that. Why does it look that way?
Let me look that up real quick.
Do you ever, touch it?
Yeah, but can I touch it?
Should you touch it?
Oh my god, please, let's find out together.
Yes. Come take a stroll with us down Petticoat Lane.